This story comes to us from BBC.com. This one I'm going to dedicate to Ive Peters. This one's for Ive. But I kind of was going through this story and I was like, so they have cops in Australia just like they have here in the U.S. I know I've seen a few stories where cops were able to catch suspects who were armed without firing a shot. Like the guy with the knife. It was in Australia and they all caught him without having to shoot him and took him to jail. So you're thinking, wow, Australia's got great cops. They got better cops than we do. And they probably do. I imagine they would. But these guys, they've caused an outcry in Australia. That's right. A 95-year-old woman who's tasered by police at an Australian care home sparked a public outcry among all the mites and the drongos. I don't know. I had to do my Australian. Had to do it. But the 95-year-old woman was tasered by police at an Australian care home. Claire Noland was critically injured after police responded to reports she was wandering around the home with a steak knife about 4 in the morning. New South Wales police, this is out of New South Wales, said she died surrounded by family and loved ones. The 33-year-old senior constable will face court in early July of this year on charges of recklessly causing grievous bodily harm, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and common assault. But if she died, wouldn't that, I don't know, Australian law, but I would think that would be homicide too, right? Like manslaughter. He remains suspended from duty with pay while investigations continue. Oh, see, they put him on paid leave there too. Mrs. Nolan lived in a care home in the town of Cooma, about 114 kilometers south of Canberra, Australia's capital city. That's right, if you didn't know that. If you thought it was Sydney, you need to go back to school. It's Canberra. That's about 71 miles north of Canberra, we would say. They would say 114 kilometers. New South Wales police said their thought and condolences remain with those who were lucky enough to know, love, and be loved by Mrs. Nolan during a life she led hallmarked by family, kindness, and community. Now, last week, police said she was armed with a steak knife. They confirmed that she required a walking frame to move, and the officer discharged his taser after she began approaching at a slow pace. It does say that, slow pace. All right, I'm going to tase you. Mrs. Nolan believed to have suffered a fractured skull and a serious brain bleed after falling and hitting her head during the incident. Isn't that wrongful death? Has prompted calls for a state parliamentary inquiry and the release of police body cam vision of the confrontation. In a statement, Mrs. Nolan's family said she was a well-respected, much-loved, and giving member of her local community and the loving and gentle-natured matriarch of the Nolan family. They have asked for privacy, of course. They don't want to give comment. I wouldn't either. But the thing is, when they say she's a loving and gentle-natured matriarch, people might say, well, yeah, that's why she was running around with a steak knife. Now, you got to remember, she's 95 years old. She's in a care home. So she probably was one of the most loving women, like they say. But dementia takes over. Alzheimer's takes over. And, at 95 in a care home, there were some things going on up there. And so these elderly people, they just, and sometimes they freak out too. They get scared because they don't know where they're at. They're like little kids, all over again. Life is a circle. You start out as a scared little kid, you grow, you go through life, and then at 90, 95 years old, you're a scared little kid again. So, she was 95 with a walker. How dangerous could she be? Well, apparently they agree because he's being charged with assault, not wrongful death. Interesting.